What if I told you that Because the people around you are still living in urgency, and they cannot understand why you are not. They see your stillness as stagnation. They see your lack of urgency as lack of ambition, and you cannot explain it to them because you are still learning the language yourself. So you begin to spend more time alone, not because you are withdrawing, but because you need space to hear what is happening inside you. And in that space, something begins to grow. Not a plan, not a strategy, but a direction, a pull, a sense of where you are being called, even if you cannot yet see the destination. The third sign is that your relationship with time changes. You stop feeling like you are running out of it. This does not mean you suddenly have more time or that your schedule clears. It means that the panic around time dissolves. You used to feel that every moment not spent productively was a moment wasted. Now, you notice that some of your most important moments are the ones where nothing happens. You sit on your porch and watch the light change. You lie in bed for an extra 10 minutes, not scrolling, just breathing. You stare out the window on the train, and instead of feeling guilty, you feel restored. This is not laziness. This is recalibration. Your nervous system, which has been in a state of low-grade emergency for years, is finally being allowed to rest. And in that rest, your perception shifts. You begin to see that time is not a scarce resource you must hoard and optimize. It is the medium through which your life unfolds, and it moves at its own pace, regardless of how much you try to speed it up. Jung would say that this is the shift from chronos to kairos. Chronos is clock time, linear and measurable. Kairos is the right time, the opportune moment, the time when things ripen. Urgency lives in chronos. Direction lives in kairos. And when you stop trying to force chronos to move faster, you become available to kairos. You begin to notice when things are ready, when the door is actually open, when the moment has arrived. And you stop wasting energy pushing on doors that are still locked. You also begin to notice how much of your urgency was a way of avoiding the present moment. Because the present moment, when you actually inhabit it, is often uncomfortable. It contains feelings you do not want to feel, truths you do not want to face, stillness you do not know how to hold. So you filled it with urgency, with tasks, with noise, with a constant forward motion that kept you from having to be here fully with yourself. But now, that strategy is no longer working. The urgency has dissolved, and the present moment is still here, waiting. And you have no choice but to enter it. At first, this feels unbearable. You sit down to rest, and immediately your mind floods with everything you should be doing. You try to meditate, and your body twitches with restlessness. You attempt to simply be, and being feels like drowning. This is normal. This is the withdrawal symptom of a life lived in urgency. Your system is detoxing. It does not know yet how to exist without the adrenaline, without the pressure, without the constant sense of emergency. But if you stay with it, if you do not run back to urgency just to escape the discomfort, something begins to settle. Your breath deepens, your shoulders drop, and beneath the noise, you begin to hear something quieter, a rhythm, a pulse, your own inner timing, which has been there all along, waiting for you to stop and listen. The fourth sign is that you begin to feel grief, and you do not know why. Not the sharp grief of loss, but a softer, more pervasive sadness. It sits in your chest, just beneath the surface, and it colors everything. You cry at strange times, for no clear reason. A song moves you, a memory surfaces. You see an old photograph, and something inside you aches. This is not depression, though it may feel similar. This is the grief of letting go of the life you thought you were supposed to live. Because urgency was not just a feeling, it was a structure. It organized your days, your choices, your identity. It told you who you were and what mattered. And now that it is dissolving, you are left with the raw truth of what remains. And what remains is often smaller, quieter, more ordinary than the life you were chasing. This is devastating and liberating in equal measure. Devastating because you realize how much energy you spent running towards something that was never truly yours. Liberating because you are finally free to discover what is. Jung called this the process of disillusionment, and he did not mean it as a negative thing. He meant it literally, the removal of illusions. The persona, the false self, the life built on borrowed dreams. All of it must be seen for what it is before it can be released. And seeing it is painful. It feels like failure. It feels like wasted time. But it is not. It is the necessary clearing that makes space for something real. You may find yourself mourning specific things. The career you thought you wanted. The relationship you try to force. The version of yourself you worked so hard to become. And as you mourn, you may also feel anger. Anger at the people who told you this was the way. Anger at yourself for believing them. Anger at the years you spent performing instead of living. This anger is valid. Let be there. Do not rush to forgiveness or understanding. Let yourself feel the full weight of what was lost. Because only when you feel it can you release it. And beneath the grief and the anger, there is something else. A quiet relief. A sense that you are finally telling the truth. That you are no longer pretending. That the mask you wore for so long is cracking. And beneath it is not the failure you feared, but a face you barely recognize. Your own. The fifth sign is that you become acutely aware of what is false. Not in others, but in yourself. You notice the ways you perform, the ways you edit your words, the ways you shape your behavior to meet invisible expectations. You catch yourself in the middle of a sentence and realize you're saying what you think you should say, not what you actually think. You agree to something and immediately feel a contraction in your chest. You smile when you do not feel like smiling, and the smile feels like a betrayal. This awareness is uncomfortable because it reveals how much of your life has been a negotiation. You have been negotiating with the world. Try to be acceptable. Try to be enough. Try to avoid rejection. And the cost of that negotiation is that you have lost touch with what is true for you. You do not know what you actually want because you have spent so long trying to want the right things. You do not know what you actually feel because you have spent so long managing your feelings to keep others comfortable. Jung would say this is the shadow emerging. The shadow is not evil. It is simply everything you have disowned in order to fit in. Your anger, your desire, your selfishness, your strangeness, all the parts of you that were not acceptable. So you buried them, but they do not disappear. They live in the unconscious, and they shape your life from beneath the surface. And when urgency dissolves, when the pressure to perform lifts, the shadow begins to rise. Not to destroy you, but to be integrated, to be seen, to be welcomed back. This is terrifying, because if you stop performing, if you stop being who you think you should be, who are you? You do not know yet. And not knowing feels like standing naked in front of a mirror, seeing yourself for the first time and not recognizing the reflection. But this is the work. This is the passage. You cannot become who you are without first releasing who you are not. And releasing who you are not means facing the emptiness that remains. The sixth sign is that you begin to trust slowness, not as a strategy, but as a state of being. You stop trying to speed things up. You stop looking for shortcuts. You stop asking how long it will take. You simply do the next thing, and then the next, and you trust that the pace is right, even when it feels too slow. You plant seeds and do not dig them up to check if they are growing. You start projects without needing to know how they will end. You have conversations without trying to steer them toward a conclusion. This is a radical shift because our entire culture is built on acceleration. Faster is better. More is better. Now is better. But you're beginning to learn that faster is often just faster. It is not deeper. It is not truer. It is not more alive. And the things that matter, the things that last, the things that actually change you, they cannot be rushed. They unfold in their own time. And your job is not to control the unfolding, but to stay present to it. You begin to notice the difference between forcing and allowing. Forcing feels tight. It feels like pushing against resistance. It feels like you're trying to make something happen that is not ready to happen. Allowing feels open. It feels like you're moving with something rather than against it. It feels like collaboration, not conquest. And the more you practice allowing, the more you realize that most of your urgency was just forcing in disguise. You were not moving toward something. You were running from something. And what you were running from was the fear that if you stopped, nothing would happen. But now you have stopped, and things are still happening. Not the things you planned, not the things you expected, but things, small things, quiet things. A conversation that opens a door. A book that